Hi everyone, Maria here, and welcome to Season 1 of GUTTALKS, GGUTT, a podcast focusing on business and tech for good, experience design, and gut feelings. Interesting. But one thing I want to ask you, just to put things into perspective a little bit for the audience. So there are brands that have been sustainable from day one, like Patagonia, right? We all know it. So that have been bought, or some of them haven't, but they were built initially on ethical principles. So how to transform a company that has not been built on ethical principles or whatsoever into becoming one? And I just want to clarify one thing, what we're talking about here, just to make sure the audience gets it. It's not about CSR and communication exercises, but it goes way beyond that. Not stuff done on special occasions, but how to embed the ESGs into their brand DNA.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting question. I think all of the great entrepreneurial stories, around sustainable business, like Patagonia and Ben & Jerry's and Stonyfield Farms, the common denominator in all of those stories is really the founder or the founding team, So I think it starts from the top. That's a cliche, but it's very, very true in the sustainable business world. So I think, like anything, if you have that type of ethos and you believe in taking care of your stakeholders, you believe in taking care of the environment and so on, then you will build a business that does that, because it's a very high priority and a high value for your business. You want your business to do well in the traditional sense of profitability, value, and so on. But you're also very focused on building the business the right way, and certainly on setting up a governance system, setting up a code within the company that does that. And the founders also are the transmission channel. So, they become great communicators. They often are great communicators, and they can sell that vision and ethos to their employees, but also to the outside, right? So that's the common denominator in those cases. But what you're saying is, how do you take, say, a large corporate, going back to the corporate world, and, take a very large kind of oil tanker and suddenly maneuver it in a different direction? That is a very, very difficult undertaking that seems to be beyond most of these big companies, beyond greenwashing, the occasional CSR effort and all that. There are good examples of how that's been done, but at a large corporate, it takes massive buy-in from many, many different parts of the firm, okay? So you need a very strong leader who could go office by office, department by department, and really begin to change the culture in a sustainable direction. There are good case studies. I mean, Unilever is a great example. I think when Paul Polman took over, and even a bit before he came in, they realized that a lot of the product lines they were in, were environmentally very damaging. They weren't really in keeping with the sustainable ethos, neither in terms of the quality of ingredients or the packaging used, and so on. So they really implemented a top-down, firm-wide sort of culture change in terms of how to implement sustainability and integrate it into all parts of the organization. Danone has done that a bit. Nestle is doing that a little bit. There are some interesting examples of very dirty companies in heavy industry, mining, and so on, that have now become clean, and they're purveyors more of green energy, and they change their culture and employee treatment, labor treatment. So there are some examples, but I found in those cases, they tend to play out over a long period of time. It's a slow and steady sort of improvement. And usually it's a very strong CEO who has enough credibility to work over a long period of time with different parts of the organization, But that is very much really the minority right now. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, the examples you cited, it's true. I mean, if you do some research, you don't find much more, basically. They're pretty much the only ones doing it and sharing, talking about it as well, because it helps educate others as well. But willingness is difficult because, as you rightly said, you're talking about the CEOs and the C levels, but I think if you go lower in the pyramid, I don't like those terms, but this is how it works in the corporate world. You might get buy-in easier from the lower part of the pyramid, but how to convince the top. So I don't think, there isn't a magical formula or a magic sauce for it. But you gave these examples of those companies doing stuff. How to measure this? Is this where you come in? Somehow
company that we're building, RIMM, is very focused on sustainability measurement, sustainability KPIs, analytics, benchmarking versus peers, sustainability reporting, and also sustainability solutions. But measuring it is, quite a feat and quite difficult to do, because you can get the data to say almost anything.
Yeah, for sure.
So we try to take a very empirical, methodological approach where we first try to define industry by industry what sustainability factors are material. This is the starting point because, typically a lot of sustainability questionnaires and assessments tend to be very broad, tend to be very checklist formulaic, and often do not capture the most relevant sustainability factors for a certain company or industry. So we use media materiality tests where we look at what stakeholders are saying are their most important issues around sustainability. We look at financial materiality tests where we see what sustainability performance factors impact financial performance the most. Of course, we also look at global standards and global experts in terms of what they're saying, GRI, TCFD, SASB. So we first develop a materiality methodology, then we distill it down to the essential questions. Once the company answers those questions, then we go about analyzing their performance. We analyze it on an absolute basis, on a relative basis compared to their peers. And then it creates what we call a gap analysis, where then you will see what the gaps are overall in their sustainability performance. And then we make recommendations and help them implement solutions to fix those gaps. So we're not interested in greenwashing. We're not interested in giving them a high score or a low score that they can go publicize. We're not interested in letting them cherry pick and select, some of their good aspects and go publicize it. We are giving them a very honest 360-degree view of their sustainability performance. And what we found is that this is a very multi-period sort of exercise. This is not something that you just do and, you fill it in, you get the report and you go home. This is something that, as we talked about with the big companies, it takes continuous time, continuous investment, and continuous commitment, to really improve in a genuine way. So, that's sort of how we built RIMM.
Okay. And is it an automated process or is it combined with consulting?
It's 80% automated, 20% consulting. I think the consulting part would really only be for very high touch clients. But automation is the key to scale. Our tagline is sustainability for all. And this is sort of the social impact we want to have through automation, through big data, through AI. If we can give all companies in the world, big and small, sustainability assessments, sustainability diagnostics, and help with achieving their sustainability goals and how they think about sustainability through education, solutions, and so on. This is our aim. So that means we have to be low cost. That means we have to be automated and we have to be scalable.